Hey, Fa-Choi TCS viewers, it is Chris Nichols here from the camera store. It is 2014, the year of the horse and the start of the Chinese New Year. We're going to take a look at the Nikon D3300. Brand new sensor, very interesting camera. We're going to see how this competes against its counterparts, and it even comes in red, perfect for the festivities today. So Confucius says it's about time that TCS TV started reviewing some entry-level gear like the new SLRs, but the problem with companies like Canon is they haven't released anything new or exciting, even considering the fact they've got a brand new 20 megapixel sensor on the market. We're not seeing it come out on any Rebel cameras yet, but Nikon has the brand new D3300. Very exciting too, because although 24 megapixels is common, we now have an entry-level SLR without low-pass filter. We're going to shoot that and see if it really gives us better image quality. So one of the things I'm noticing on this, I mean, it is an entry-level camera. We don't have a lot of buttons, and I assume that's so that we don't confuse beginners. But I've got exposure comp here. I'd like to see an ISO button because I'm going to change that a lot indoors. That being said, Nikon has its standard info button, push your eye button. It brings you up to a quick menu. It's fairly fast, but again, I would like to have that control with a quick button on the back. So what have they really changed on the D3300 from, the D3200? Well, we've talked about how there's no low-pass filter. We're going to try that out in a bit, see if it really enhances our sharpness. There's another interesting thing here too. Brand new 18 to 55. Now this is neat because you've got the push button to unlock it and expand it to a regular range. The advantage is the lens is going to give you a shorter profile when you carry it around. I've got mixed thoughts on it. I do like the compactness, but we're still looking at an SLR. And it's one more step that a beginner's going to have to pop open and do before they can start shooting. So take off your lens cap. You're going to forget that the first few times. And then make sure you also unlock the lens. Still, better get used to it because all Nikons are going to use the 18 to 55 kit lens with this new design from now on. Now, I also really welcome the addition of 5 frame per second shooting. That's going to step up an entry-level camera like this into something capable of capturing a bit more sports, a bit more action, pets, kids running around. It's a nice change from the D3200. It's a pretty standard drive mode array, nice quick button on the back. Here we can change to quiet shutter, or we can do self-timers and MLL3 wireless remote systems. One of the things that Nikon's really advertising on the 3300 is a brand new live view autofocusing system. It's supposed to be much quicker. Now I'm going to give you this. This is what I'm finding. The camera is very consistent. It is quick. It will find its target, hunt a bit, and then lock. Now I do like that it's consistent every time it does it, so it's predictable. That being said, for video, it's still going to be annoying, this back and forth business. So it's not going to help us out in movie mode, but if you're shooting stills, you're not going to sit there waiting forever. It's a nice touch. Got the fun bun tree here, but the white balance is tough because the color's pretty tricky in here. A lot of mixed lighting. Now that being said, I do normally like on the higher end Nikons the option to go to auto white balance, but choose warm or cold color. I don't have that here, and the color's not amazing in auto on this camera. That being said, I have always liked how Nikon has a lot of choice. I can go in here, get to my white balance, and adjust all of my settings separately. Tweak them a little bit for color if I want. Or, like I'm doing in here, do a quick preset right off this white table and get decent colors. So it's there and it's accessible. So it is crowded and it is busy in here. It'd be nice to actually have the tilt screen on this live view, and I could kind of get over crowds and things like that. The viewing angle is not too bad, but yeah, tilty screen, that's nice. But I know they're probably going to save that for the 5000 series cameras only. So I'm on single point autofocus, which I love for most situations, move it around. But the way this control pad is where it sticks out, I do find that just by grabbing the camera with my palm here, I do end up pushing it. Many times now I found my autofocus pushed all the way to the right before I'm about to shoot. I wish there was a locking mechanism on there somewhere. All right, guys, take a look at this sensor at high ISO. You can see here when we push the ISO from 1600 upwards all the way to 12,800, we're getting very, very respectable results. That's one of the great things I love about the 3300 here. We've got an entry-level SLR, but they've crammed it with a magnificent sensor, high megapixels, and very good high ISO performance. You're gonna love that on this camera. Okay, now, I'm a big proponent of kit lenses. I know a lot of people always rag on them as being cheap, lightly built, and not very good, but optically they're fantastic, I find, for the price. And the other thing that I'm really surprised about in this particular lens, the close focusing capability is incredible. I'm at 55 millimeters. If you look at this photo here, we're getting very, very close results. Better than a Canon 18-55, better than the traditional Nikon 18-55. So all in all, very versatile lens, very impressive close-up. I normally have a very high-end SLR out here doing journalism, but I'm going to go ahead with my 3300, even if I feel a little bit out-competed. But you know, it's a good way to test autofocus and continuous, and I'm going to try the 3D tracking. I love Nikon 3D tracking. With 11 points only, though, I'm a little skeptical, but this is going to be a great test. We got the Dragon and Lion dances coming up. Let's see how it does. All right, now it's also a very good opportunity out here to test our video. Now the D3300 has full manual control, which is a really nice touch, and a very unique feature as well for Nikon, 60p at 1080. So we're gonna try some slow mode here as well. We got our ND filters on to keep our shutter speeds at the right speeds, and just see how it can handle it. Now again, as a side note, before you even ask, yes, on a camera like this, I'm gonna have to exit live view to change my aperture like most lower end Nikons. All right, guys, so we got to see a very, very cool performance. I tried the D3300 movie mode here, and I left it in live view autofocusing. I wanted to see how it would do there. You know, all in all, it's better than most Nikon SLRs. I think for cinematic stuff, you're still gonna manually focus. We're not quite there yet. That being said, I love the 60p, as you guys can see here. And you know, other things too, the audio levels. We've got mic input, and I am able to set them manually. Check out the video here. You can hear the sound that we're getting out of the built-in mics. You know, at this price point, I think you're getting a really, really nice package here when it comes to video. For family home videos, the live view autofocusing is fast enough that you're gonna be okay with it. Quality's great, I like the new features. Very, very nice at this price point. All right, I have to say, very surprised, very impressed. The D3300's autofocus outside and continuous was actually very, very good. The 3D tracking worked well. 11 points isn't a lot to track with, but it did a good job. For an entry-level camera, very impressive. You can see here in sequences, it followed at the 5 frames per second. Now, buffer rate with a fast card's not amazing. That's also to be expected. After about 8 or 9 shots, the camera would slow down to about 1.5 frames per second. Still, very impressive for the price point. So it seems to be a big trend nowadays with cameras. If you've got high megapixels, take out the low pass filter, get the enhanced sharpness, and it's finally come to a digital entry-level SLR here. The 3300, looking at this shot on an 85 lens, 5.6, nice and sharp and stabilized. Look at that detail. Zooming in there, we're getting lots of megapixels, but also very, very good sharpness. So image quality-wise, you're gonna be very, very impressed with this camera. All right, so a long day of shooting. It was a very cool event. You can see the carnage is over. But you know what? I was actually very, very surprised pleasantly by the D3300. I enjoyed using it, and it looks like Nikon's actually giving you a lot for your money. You know, there's a lot of positives on this camera, folks. The new lens, the 18-55, compact, and the close focusing actually blew me away. It was really impressive. The image quality with this new sensor with no low pass filter, very, very sharp. You're not going to be wanting for that. And the low light performance was great too. Autofocus, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, even though it's an 11-point system, it was quick and punchy, and the live view is an improvement as well. The camera handles well. It's very simple. It won't confuse you. Overall, a lot of good pluses. There were some downsides, you know, but they were mostly to be expected. The 5 frame per second shooting is quick, but the buffer does fill up very, very fast. So it's going to stop shooting pretty quickly on you. And, you know, things like bringing up menus, pushing buttons, there's small delays in it. You know, again, the processor's not super powerful. The screen doesn't rotate, but, you know, for the camera being a 3000 series, it's an overall fantastic package. You know, no Wi-Fi. Not a big deal, honestly. You can always get the adapter if you want it. This camera actually competes very favorably with the 5300. The only thing the 5300 really has going for it, other than the GPS Wi-Fi packages, is the more advanced focusing. But that being said, this camera did a pretty good job considering its price point, even in a sports and action situation like we had today. Overall, the D3300, very impressive. It looks like Nikon is really hitting out the entry-level market with this SLR. And if I was Canon, I'd either come out with new cameras or be very scared. See you guys next time.